to introduce this morning's final speaker, the Honorable Eric Holder, 82nd Attorney General of the United States. In 1997, he was named by President Clinton as Deputy Attorney General and was the first African American to serve in that post. Prior to that, he served as U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia and as an Associate Judge of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. A native of New York City, he received his undergraduate degree from Columbia College and his law degree from Columbia Law School in 1976. Upon graduating, he joined the Department of Justice as part of the Attorney General's Honors Program and was assigned to the newly formed Public Integrity Section tasked to investigate and prosecute official corruption on local, state, and federal levels. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my particular pleasure to introduce the Attorney General of the United States, the Honorable Eric Holder.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, folks, come on. There we go. We need some more coffee for this group, all right? Thank you, Chief McNeil, for those kind words and for the example of service and outstanding leadership that you are providing as President of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. It's a privilege to stand with you this morning and to join with so many colleagues and with so many friends, both on the dais and in the audience, as we celebrate everything that our nation's law enforcement community, and really our partners around the world, have helped to achieve, and as we honor all that you all have sacrificed in the service of others. Now, I'd especially like to thank Executive Director Johnson, as well as the IACP's Board of Directors, for your leadership team, and professional staff for your work in bringing us together today, and for including me once again in this extremely important event. It is a pleasure to share the stage with such a distinguished group of law enforcement professionals, including Interpol President Koo, Deputy Director Joyce, and Acting Assistant Attorney General Leary. And it's a special privilege to join you in congratulating this year's International Police Officer of the Year, Lieutenant Adam Koshiba of the Pennsylvania State Police, whose heroic actions exemplify the very best of what it means to protect and to serve. Thanks to the work of extraordinary public servants like Lieutenant Koshiba, the dedicated efforts of the IACP's 20,000 members, and the consistent engagement of your supporters worldwide, I think we can all be proud of the progress that this association has inspired and helped to bring about in the year since we last came together. Now, despite unprecedented budgetary challenges and a really range of serious threats, you have found ways to advance our fight against crime and violence, to protect the safety and the wellness of your rank and file, to effectively advocate for the latest in cutting-edge tools and technologies, and to foster increased levels of cooperation, collaboration, and transparency across jurisdictional lines, across levels of government, and even across international borders. In short, you've upheld the finest traditions of service and excellence that the IACP has come to embody over the last 119 years. And you've helped to ensure that America's premier law enforcement organization continues to be a driving force for progress. Now, that's one of the many reasons why I've made it a priority to take part in this event today and every year since I have become Attorney General. I'm here to personally thank you all for that you've done, all that you've done, but also to hear from you, to learn from you, and to assure each of you that so long as I have the privilege of leading our nation's Department of Justice, I will always have your back. And I want to say, just as in recent months, I've been grateful, and I've been very moved to know that you all have had mine. I want to thank you all a great deal for the support that you've shown to me over the last few months. Not only have you supported me, you have continued to inspire me. At every stage of my career, as a prosecutor, as a judge, as the brother of a retired police officer, I've held a deep appreciation for the obstacles, the threats, and the challenges that law enforcement officers face on a daily basis. And I recognize that in many ways, your work has never been more difficult. Yet, Despite current challenges and threats, as a result of your efforts, overall national crime rates remain at historic lows. Across the United States and around the world, your work is enabling us to make a meaningful, measurable difference in fighting terrorism, transnational organized crime, and human trafficking, in protecting the most vulnerable members of our society, in combating hate crimes and civil rights violations, and in preventing the gun, gang, and drug-fueled violence that has stolen too many promising futures. At every level, the broad-based, collaborative public safety approach that the IACP has long championed is streamlining investigations and prosecutions and bringing law enforcement leaders, policymakers, and community stakeholders together to address some of today's most complex and intractable public safety challenges, and to expand service opportunities for first responders. Now, with these goals in mind, over the last 3 years, the Department's Community-Oriented Policing Services, or COPS, the hiring program has awarded a total of $1.5 billion to create or to protect 7,000 jobs in local law enforcement. Earlier this summer, I traveled to Philadelphia to announce a new round of grants totaling over $111 million that will save or create jobs for roughly 800 officers throughout the country, including nearly 200 who will be saved from layoffs and more than 600 military veterans who will be hired as new law enforcement officers. Through this type of direct assistance, and thanks to flagship grant programs like Burn JAG, which has enabled the Justice Department to award more than $3.5 billion to our state and local law enforcement partners since 2009, we are helping to close budget gaps, to provide access to the tools and the technologies that you need to keep officers on the beat, and I'm proud to say, to keep our law enforcement partners safe. Now, as we have been reminded far too often, every time that you put on a badge, you face a range of significant and often unpredictable threats. We saw this here in San Diego just last week when two brave San Diego County Sheriff's deputies, Detective Ali Perez and Sergeant Craig Johnson, were shot while attempting to question a man suspected of child abuse. Well, today, as we wish these injured colleagues a full and speedy recovery, and as we hold them and their families in our thoughts and in our prayers, we must also rededicate ourselves to protecting each member of the thin blue line, a line that is defined by valor, by heroism, by selflessness, and also by sacrifice. Since October of 2011, when we gathered in Chicago for last year's IACP conference, our nation has mourned the loss of 120 brave officers, including at least one police chief, Michael Maloney, of the Greenland, New Hampshire Police Department. Now, each one of us has felt this loss and bid farewell to far too many colleagues and far too many dear friends. Now, it's true that we can take some measure of comfort and some encouragement from the fact that compared to this time last year, line of duty officer deaths are down nearly 30%. But even a single untimely loss is too many. That's why today's Justice Department is determined, this is why I am determined, to meet acts of senseless violence with renewed vigilance. It's also why we are striving to promote innovative, evidence-based strategies, programs, and information-sharing tools that can help us to analyze and to address specific types of threats. Through an initiative by BJA and the COPS office known as the Officer Safety Working Group, the department is collaborating with law enforcement organizations like the IACP to provide a platform for researching and for disseminating threat information. And through a groundbreaking effort known as VALOR, which I announced at an IACP conference 2 years ago, we are providing extensive technical assistance and invaluable training opportunities to help officers anticipate, to prevent, and to survive violent encounters. To date, more than 6,000 law enforcement professionals have participated in 41 VALOR training sessions across the country, and the initiative has distributed more than 8,000 officer safety toolkits, which include the latest information on how to respond to a range of threats, including ambush-style assaults. Now, in addition to these training and education opportunities, we're also making resources available through initiatives like BJA's Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program to provide law enforcement with equipment that, quite simply, is saving lives. This year alone, the department has awarded more than $28 million under this program to help over 4,200 jurisdictions purchase more than 96,000 protective vests. In the last 8 months, this type of body armor has saved the lives of at least 25 law enforcement officers, including 7 who were wearing vests purchased in part with federal funds. In addition to this life-saving program, we've also made significant investments in cities like Philadelphia and Oakland to surge federal resources in response to alarming spikes in local homicide rates. And across the country, we're working alongside local leaders to gather and to analyze intelligence to target crime hotspots and to build the capacity needed to help officers respond to violent threats and circumstances. Now, because of these and other critical efforts, including IACP's new Center for Officer Safety and Wellness, the Reducing Officer Injuries Project, and research that's being conducted on the prevention of violence against the police, I think we have good reason for optimism. As a result of the IACP's renewed focus on the prevention of officer suicide, we are working diligently to address areas of concern and to better equip officers to protect themselves. At the same time, I'm realistic, and I recognize that we will never completely eliminate the criminal elements that threaten our communities and our first responders. And that's why the department is also moving to strengthen our support for the families of law enforcement officers, especially in these toughest of times. And to that end, we're working to reinforce critical support networks for the loved ones of those killed or injured in the line of duty, particularly through our Public Safety Officers Benefits Program. Now, although there's no question that the PSOB program does good work, I have heard and I understand the concerns that IACP's leadership and others in law enforcement have raised. And I am committed to ensuring that this program lives up to its intent. More than 3 decades ago, the PSOB Act was designed to offer peace of mind to men and women who put their lives on the line each day, and to ease the economic and emotional burden placed on the survivors of officers who make the ultimate sacrifice or who are permanently disabled in the line of duty. It is a statement about the value that America places on the work of this dedicated group of public servants. It is who we are as an American nation. The Department of Justice shares this value, and we're working to implement fundamental changes that will set the PSOB program on a new trajectory for timeliness, for transparency, for efficiency, and for responsiveness. Acting Assistant Attorney General Mary Lou Leary is spearheading this effort, and both she and I will continue to rely on IACP's leadership and expertise in helping to ensure that our law enforcement partners have the support and the assistance that you deserve. We'll also be turning to you and counting on your engagement in our ongoing work to promote and to implement the kinds of comprehensive public safety solutions that the IACP has long championed. Now, for example, many of you have worked to highlight the importance not only of getting criminals off the street, but also of keeping them from reoffending when they rejoin their communities through the Federal Interagency Reentry Council, which is comprised of about 20 federal agencies in which I'm proud to chair. My colleagues and I are striving to amplify your efforts. We're working to reduce future victimizations and to provide direct support to the local stakeholders who have always stood at the forefront of this work. I'm pleased to report that, according to a new study that was made possible by the Department's Bureau of Justice Assistance and released by the Council of State Governments just last week, it's clear that our approach is working. Thanks to the collaborative efforts of law enforcement leaders, community-based organizations, and departments of corrections, as well as a variety of groundbreaking projects that have been funded by BJA, like Second Chance and Justice Reinvestment Grants, a number of states have shown significant reductions in their 3-year recidivism rates. For example, in Ohio and in Texas, the report showed that this rate declined by 11%. In Kansas, it dropped by 15%. And in Michigan, it fell by 18%. Now, without question, these are encouraging signs, but they cannot be stopping points. In order to build on this progress and to help more states achieve similar gains, Today, I'm proud to announce that the department will distribute more than $6 million in the form of 7 new recidivism reduction awards. These investments are designed to aid in the development, the implementation, and the expansion of proven strategies for intervention. They also reflect our commitment to providing our state and local partners with the resources that are necessary to improve public safety policies on both the front and back ends of overburdened justice systems. And I'm eager to see where these investments will help take us from here. So today, as we look toward this future, and as we come together from across the country and really around the globe to discuss the goals and the obligations that we share, to celebrate all that's been accomplished over the past year, I can't help but reflect on the critical difference that each of us can make. And I'm reminded of the essential role that international groups like the IACP must continue to fulfill in determining the present path and shaping the future course of law enforcement at every level. And that is why, as Attorney General, I've traveled extensively, not just around the United States, but throughout the world, to meet with my counterparts and law enforcement colleagues to forge and strengthen vital relationships and to facilitate cooperation between governments, private organizations, and leaders like you. Just last week, I had the privilege of appearing before the United Nations to pledge that the United States will keep striving to uphold the rule of law, to advance the goals of international peace and security, to lead global efforts to protect and defend human rights, and to move forward aggressively in the ongoing fight against crime, corruption, and terrorism. I was honored to represent our country and to make these commitments on behalf of our government. But the fact is that I won't be able to keep any of these promises without each and every one of you in this room helping, and your colleagues across our law enforcement community as well. Of course, as IACP members, you understand this. You recognize that individual efforts have a broad and a lasting impact. And you understand that today we have a unique and an important opportunity to help shape the future by doing what is necessary and what is right, and to keep proving that even in times of challenge, progress is possible. So as we take up the difficult and often dangerous work before us, as we fight to secure our communities and keep criminals off the street, and as we work to safeguard and to honor all who wear the badge, I want you to know that I'm proud to count each of you as colleagues and as partners. I am privileged to stand with you in serving the citizens that we have sworn to protect. And I look forward to all that we must and that we will achieve together. Thank you very much.